Growing up in the 2000s, King of the Hill was something I watched most frequently. This slice-of-life show follows Hank Hill, a traditional working-class man living in the fictional town of Arlen, Texas, as he navigates experiences with his family as well as his neighbors, most of which have been his closest friends since childhood. I did not grow up in the South. My background is in the rural Midwest. However, the attitudes and beliefs of the show's characters resonated heavily with the culture I knew. The show was realistic. It was not an animated sitcom as much as it was a sitcom that just happened to be animated. King of the Hill redefined what television could be, not just in its format, but in its tone. It had this unique ability to tackle conflict and controversial subjects in a way that did not alienate audiences, but rather unified them. Though it seems a show like this would not age well, it shockingly holds up. Audiences of different political and cultural perspectives all continue to deeply admire it. While Hank is a conservative man who always had his ideas challenged, he was usually proven right, but always learned at the same time. It was ambiguous who this show was poking fun at. It did not poke fun at any one person or group of people, but rather found humor in the ways people clash in their ideas, despite learning they have more in common than they realize. The show had nuance. It had subtleties. It was not some Seth MacFarlane creation that relied on shock humor and spoon-fed you brain rot. It was something that always pushed you to read between the lines of what was really going on. The beauty is that it did not try to give answers. It showed people figuring things out in their own way, usually awkwardly and stubbornly, but always with heart. These are just a few of the controversial areas this show was able to navigate effectively. Yeah, I'm qualified to cover this. King of the Hill managed to handle race with a balance of honesty, subtlety, and empathy. It often just used everyday dynamics to show how race and culture show up in real life.
How many people here are lucky enough to be members of the Nordic subgroup of the Aryan race? Can I see some hands?
The episode Racist Dog tackles the subject of unconscious bias through, of all things, the family's dog. When Lady Bird attacks a black repairman, Hank is horrified by the possibility that his dog may be racist. He tries to overcorrect in his classic fashion. Hank's coworker Roger encourages him to take an online test his brother-in-law made to see whether or not he's racist.
Hank's taking the racist test.
Oh, wow. Is he a racist?
We don't know yet.
I'm trying to concentrate.
Hank's wife, Peggy, claims a randomized online test can't prove whether or not you're racist, but then celebrates when she gets a score that says she's less racist than Hank. The episode mocks the whole "I'm not racist, but" mindset without vilifying Hank. It shows how well-meaning people can still act ignorantly about race. There is a very real discomfort people feel when they're more concerned about appearing racist rather than actually understanding racism. Performative guilt distracts from genuine understanding. In the end, it's revealed Lady Bird just didn't like repairmen, regardless of what they look like. The twist underscores the absurdity of overcompensation while still forcing a conversation about why the situation was so uncomfortable in the first place. John Redcorn is a man living in a town where most people either ignore or misunderstand his cultural identity. He offers therapeutic healing, which is code for his affair with Dale Gribble's wife, Nancy. The irony is that despite having Native American roots, he is the one claiming something that was not his to begin with. The most tragic part of Redcorn's story is the fact that nobody questions why Joseph Gribble looks nothing like Dale. Joseph doesn't even question it. While this is a running joke, this is also commentary on how communities can be willfully blind to uncomfortable truths. Redcorn is not hostile toward white people, but there is an undercurrent of sadness, frustration, and quiet resistance in his demeanor. He's often unfazed in the face of ignorance, not because he's indifferent, but because he's exhausted.
Hey, do your people even celebrate Thanksgiving?
We did. Once.
Hank's neighbors are Laotian immigrants trying to integrate into a white suburb. Khan, a white-collar systems analyst, wants status and respect, but often feels like an outsider, leading to tension between pride in his culture and the pressure to fit in. From the minute Khan and his family move in next door, the show sets up a classic odd couple dynamic, only it's layered with commentary about race, class, assimilation, and identity. Hank is not malicious. He's just unfamiliar with anything outside of what he knows.
We are Laotian. It's a landlocked country in Southeast Asia. It's between Vietnam and Thailand, okay?
So, are you Chinese or Japanese?
Khan is openly snobby toward the Hill family. He calls them rednecks and hillbillies. He sees himself as sophisticated and above them, but underneath the superiority is insecurity. Khan wants to be accepted and admired. He just doesn't want to give up who he is to get it. If you rearrange the letters in the name Khan, you get the name Hank. Khan and Hank do learn from each other. They are both prideful, flawed men just trying to protect their families and values. That mutual pride leads to clashes, but also respect. These dynamics speak volumes. The show doesn't pretend cultural integration is smooth. It shows it's full of awkward moments and mutual missteps.
You shouldn't take guns to school with you. They're dangerous.
Guns are dangerous?
What?
What's this about guns being dangerous?
In Arlen, guns are part of everyday life. Not because the characters are caricatures of gun-loving Texans, but because it's just integrated in everyday life. The show never demonizes gun ownership. Characters will carry or talk about guns, but it's presented as normal, not radical. In the episode How to Fire a Rifle Without Really Trying, Hank learns that Bobby is a natural marksman, despite never being taught to shoot. Ironically, Hank, who sees gun handling as a core part of masculinity, develops performance anxiety at the shooting range and can't hit the target. As the story unfolds, the characters have conversations on how they all view guns.
Guns don't kill people, the government does.
Oh, Hank, guns have been around for years. If they were dangerous, I just think someone would have said something.
This scene right here defines the show. At this moment, you don't actually know who this show is making fun of. Are we laughing with the characters about the idea that guns are the problem instead of people? Or are we laughing at the characters for getting so comfortable with something they forget the blatantly obvious? And what's even funnier than that is having someone explain to you how comedy works. In this show, you don't know who is the butt of the joke. That is how it has the magic ability to resonate with people who both agree and disagree with the characters. In the episode Soldier of Misfortune, Dale is expelled from the gun club after accidentally misfiring a weapon. Hank, though a supporter of the Second Amendment, believes Dale should be held accountable. Rather than taking a pro-gun or anti-gun stance, King of the Hill always zooms into the individual's role of responsibility. Hank is a gun owner who believes deeply in following the rules and using firearms safely. When others don't uphold that standard, he reacts not because of politics, but because of values. Gun people are not presented as lunatics, and non-gun people are not presented as cowards.
Are you gay? What? No, I sell propane.
When it came to handling LGBT issues, King of the Hill was shockingly progressive for its time. Rather than centering stories around shock or judgment, the show lets its most conservative characters react in natural ways where they just try to make sense of what is going on. In the episode The Peggy Horror Picture Show, Peggy befriends Carolyn, later finding out that Carolyn is a cross-dresser. That is not what I'm calling it, that is what the show is calling it. Peggy, always eager to seem self-righteously open-minded, tries to be supportive, but ends up embarrassing herself. She's not malicious, she just doesn't get it. The episode avoids mockery and instead just pokes fun at Peggy's performative allyship. Meanwhile, Hank is so oblivious that he treats Carolyn with polite indifference. He's never even heard of the term cross-dressing. His lack of prejudice is not the result of being progressive, but because he simply doesn't realize anything is different about her. Ironically, his lack of overreaction makes him come off as more tolerant than Peggy. This reflects how allyship often comes from a place of good intentions, but also how it can be performative and awkward when someone is more focused on being seen as tolerant rather than understanding someone else's identity. In the episode My Own Private Rodeo, Dale connects with his estranged father and learns that his father is gay.
You want to go get some cotton candy? That would make me happy. Or should I say, gay?
All right, they're gay. Ha ha ha.
Dale's father is a performer at a gay rodeo, and when Dale reconnects with him, he initially rejects this truth. This stems from classic Dale misunderstandings, thinking his dad is secretly a government agent or whatever. Ultimately, though, he comes around. Dale, the conspiracy theorist who questions everything, is ironically one of the least judgmental characters. The show plays with our assumptions, and it focuses on the simple moments of humanity and growth. It allows room for the characters to learn, not by changing their values, but by examining their perspectives.
So, are you really okay with your dad being gay?
Why would I have a problem with it? John Redcorn's gay, and I've been friends with him for years.
Without calling it by name, the show depicted anxiety, trauma, and depression. Without sensationalizing these struggles, it presents them as part of everyday life, often wrapping heavy topics with humor in a way that still lands years later. Dale's conspiracy theories are played for laughs, but beneath the surface is a man who copes with a lack of control by creating his own narrative. He's constantly suspicious of authority, obsessed with surveillance, and distrustful of even his closest friends. In the episode of Mice and Little Green Men, Dale believes aliens are involved in his son Joseph's behavior, when really he may just be struggling with the reality that Joseph doesn't look like him. It's a depiction of denial and misplaced coping mechanisms rooted in self-protection. The show presents how someone might wrap paranoia around their pain when they're afraid to confront the truth. Bill is a tragic character disguised as comic relief. He's lonely, self-deprecating, and lives in a constant state of yearning. The episode Pretty Pretty Dresses took a brutal look at how deeply his ex-wife's departure affected him. He wears her old dresses and breaks down at Christmas. It was a raw portrayal of grief and longing, and the show doesn't even ever fix Bill. It just sits with him. Cotton's war stories are intense and often absurd, but they're also a window into a man broken by combat. For such a laid-back show, it actually presented war flashbacks in a way that was harsh and uncomfortable. In the episode Returning Japanese, Cotton travels to the site of his military service in Japan, and the pain that bubbles up is real. His identity is so wrapped up in war that he never learns how to connect with others in a healthy way. Cotton isn't just an angry old man. He's a man who never had space to heal. King of the Hill treated mental health in a way that real life treats it. Uncomfortable, but with the occasional laugh to soften the blow. In a world still trying to figure out how to talk about mental health, that is what makes it timeless.
How do you not cry?
Well, instead of letting it out, try holding it in.
King of the Hill is one of the most revolutionary shows when it comes to masculinity. Hank Hill is the blueprint. Stoic, honest, emotionally reserved, a propane salesman, lover of lawn maintenance, believer in a firm handshake, and yet the show never makes him the default ideal. Instead, it places him in a world that challenges him to expand what masculinity can mean, all without preaching at us. There are times when Hank is forced to engage emotionally. He doesn't do it naturally, but he grows into it. The show says it's okay not to know how to express yourself, but trying still matters. The show presents generational differences between men. It shows how men of different ages hold certain values shaped by their time, and how those values collide and evolve. A big question this show asks is, what does it mean to be a man? Cotton Hill is the ultimate embodiment of the greatest generation stereotype. Gruff, unfiltered, and constantly reminding everyone of how tough he is. His relationship with Hank is strained, largely because Cotton sees Hank's more suburban, rule-following life as soft. Although it shows that some gaps may never fully close, understanding still matters.
Well, if it's a contest on who's the better daddy, you win. I mean, you made Bobby. All I made was you.
Thanks, Dad.
Hank loves his son, but struggles to understand him. Bobby is emotional, creative, and doesn't fit Hank's mold of what a man should be. However, Bobby develops a lot of traits that Hank, deep down, admires but struggles to embody himself. Their relationship is special because Bobby does not reject Hank's values. He just adds new layers to them. Bobby has the ability to find joy in being imperfect. Hank believes in doing things the right way, but Bobby shows there's more than one right way to live a good life. Bobby becomes the best mix of tradition and openness, structure and creativity. He honors where he came from, but he is not limited by it.
Oh, 6 a.m. and already the boy ain't right.
At its core, King of the Hill is ultimately a show about one generation trying to understand the next generation. Hank's conflicts and drive to do good ultimately stem from ensuring his son will enter a good world and make it even better. The first and last episodes of King of the Hill mirror each other perfectly, creating a powerful emotional bookend for the series. Both episodes show Hank's struggle and growth when it comes to expressing appreciation for his son. In the end of the pilot episode, Peggy tells Hank to tell Bobby he loves him. Hank has a hard time telling Bobby this. It's not that he doesn't love him, it's just that emotions are difficult for him to put into words. His upbringing taught him that love is shown through actions, not spoken openly. When Bobby asks if Hank is proud of him, the barrier cracks. Hank doesn't just say he's proud. He has an outpouring of words in his own heartfelt way. It's the most meaningful and genuine thing he could tell Bobby. This is just an early glimpse into the core of Hank's character. A man who deeply cares, but stumbles in showing it. By the final episode, Bobby has found his own identity. He joins a meat inspection team, something both practical and slightly strange. The perfect combination of Bobby's uniqueness and Hank's traditional values. Bobby becomes a unifying force for the team, much like Hank is for his friend group. The parallel shows how Bobby has inherited Hank's best traits without losing his own identity. In the closing scene, Hank and Bobby are side by side, grilling steaks. It's simple and full of meaning. When Hank tells Bobby again how proud he is, it's not a struggle. It's natural. No fanfare, no awkwardness, just a father fully at peace with who his son is becoming. Meanwhile, the rest of the neighborhood joins in the lawn, reflecting the enduring sense of community that the show quietly built over 13 seasons. The final scene is not a grand farewell or a dramatic shift, it's life continuing. with a little more understanding and connection than when it started. Some fans do claim this show was arguably quote-unquote woke before we were even using the word woke, much to the dismay of other fans. However, it in no way comes off as woke because it doesn't try to cram messages down your throat and tell you how to act. It just presents the dynamics of how everyday people act and how they get along in a functioning society. The show did not go on forever. It knew when to end at the perfect time. King of the Hill did not need a big finale. It just needed a well-done steak, a family at the grill, and a backyard full of friends. And that's why it aged perfectly. And ended perfectly. Oh, wait, never mind. It's getting rebooted.